Hello everyone and welcome to the Football Attic video blog 8. I'm Chris Oakley and I'm back with you once again for what is in fact the very last video blog from the Football Attic, but the format remains the same. It's basically me taking something from my football memorabilia collection and talking to you about it for a short while, as if you care and as if you're interested, but hopefully you are interested. On this particular video blog I've not just got one item for you but several. Why? Well, on this video blog, I thought I'd turn the tables a bit in the broader sense of the Football Attic, because if you've been visiting our website or listening to our podcasts, anything like that, you'll know that essentially between myself and my co-blogger Rich Johnson, it's Rich that is renowned particularly for having a fondness for football shirts, so much so that he has an extensive collection of football shirts, a regular buyer and something of a connoisseur when it comes to football shirt design. But I thought I'd turn the tables a little bit and basically tell you that well, he's not the only one on the Football Attic team that likes to buy football shirts. I have bought many a shirt myself down the years, not quite as many as Rich, in fact nowhere near as many as Rich, but I have had my day, shall we say, when it comes to buying shirts. So I thought I'd tell you about the shirts that I've owned, and some of which I still do own. And I'll be showing you those very shortly. First of all, we go right the way back to when I was about 9 or 10 years old, probably about 9, which would have been about 1980, 1981 kind of time. For those of you who still aren't aware, I'm a West Ham fan, and here's a spoiler alert and a warning for any of you that don't particularly like West Ham. This might be a good time to stop the video and watch something else, because there's going to be a bit of West Ham content here, I'm sorry to say, if that's the way you're so inclined. But my first shirt that I had of any kind wasn't really what you might call a proper football shirt, but it was a kind of an Adidas leisure wear top thing. It actually was made in the colours of West Ham, although truth be known, it could have been worn by any team wearing claret and blue. Essentially it could have been a Burnley top or whatever. But it was an Adidas top. I've got a picture of me wearing that shirt, which I thought I'd show you. It's the first of a few that are going to probably embarrass me because I look a bit silly and young and, well, yeah, just idiotic, frankly. And so here's the picture. Now, in the picture, you'll see me wearing the top, and in the foreground is my dear late father, and he and I had visited my aunt and uncle's house, and they had, as you can see, a golden retriever. I think it was just a little more than a puppy, but it grew to be an enormous size, this dog. It was a huge, great lump of a thing when it was fully grown. Can't remember the dog's name, but anyway, there it is. And the picture shows me and my dad at my aunt and uncle's house, and I'm wearing the shirt that I'm describing. As you can see, it's not really what you call a proper replica shirt or anything like that. It's an Adidas top. It was made out of cotton, I seem to remember, so not silky, shiny fabric or anything. But if you look very carefully, you might just be able to make out that I did have on the shirt a sort of stitched on West Ham badge. Now, I don't know, I don't remember asking for that. I don't remember my mum, I wasn't aware of the fact that my mum might have known where to buy a West Ham badge, and you know, that she'd have been so inspired to stitch it on. But there it is. I made of that shirt, I turned it into a West Ham shirt of sorts, I suppose you could say, but I was very fond of that shirt. It was very nice. So that would have been my first brush with sort of football shirts of any kind, really. The following year, I reckon, circa 1982, I actually owned a version of the England national team shirt of the day. It's the shirt that was voted by Football Attic visitors to our website as being the greatest England home shirt ever, or part of the greatest England home kit ever. And it's a classic. What can we say? It's a classic. My co-blogger Rich Johnson famously hates this shirt, but I loved it. The version that I had, I haven't got a photo of it unfortunately, but the version I had was essentially like a sort of cheap replica market stall version of the shirt, but it was accurate in all the detail that I needed. The unfortunate postscript to that story is that at some point I had this kind of, well, at home we had this like fluorescent yellow paint marker, and it was used to sort of mark, you know when you used to go to school and your mum used to sort of mark your name in the back of your shirt or your coat and stuff like that? Well, it was sort of designed for that, but it was for marking your name in, I don't know, shoes or bags or something. And one day I got hold of this yellow fluorescent paint marker thing and somehow managed to dribble yellow paint down the front of my England shirt, and after that I wasn't so keen to wear it, funnily enough. But there it was. But it was a lovely shirt I had at the time. So that was my first, what you might call proper shirt, really. It was a sort of nylon fabric, liable to cause up huge amounts of static, as these things do. But there you go. That was my first one. Now, if that wasn't my first proper shirt, then this one was my third one that I'm mentioning now. And I have a picture of me wearing this shirt. I am considerably embarrassed by this, so I hope you appreciate the sacrifice I'm making. I had the Liverpool kit, except for the socks. I had a Liverpool shirt and Liverpool shorts, and it was, to all intents and purposes, proper kit for kids, anyway, at least. How did I end up owning this Liverpool kit? Well, as I've mentioned on the Football Attic podcasts and things like that before, when pinstripes came in the early 80s, I thought they were fantastic. I thought they were brilliant. And for some unexplainable reason, I was particularly attracted to the Norwich City kit. It was something about the way that the yellow and green worked with the pinstripes. It just looked great. I, however, grew up in northeast London, and the chances of me actually getting a Norwich City shirt or a kit were practically zero. And so it was that on one occasion I went to our local sports shop to get a Norwich City kit with my mum and probably my dad as well. And surprise, surprise, the shop owner didn't have any Norwich City kits in this store in northeast London. Who knew? But I think he actually sort of said, well, okay, well, are there any other football kits or football shirts that you quite like? And on the spot I thought, oh, I quite like the Liverpool kit, because that also had pinstripes. And so it was that I ended up with the shirt and shorts. It's what a lot of people refer to as the Crown Paints kit, because that was the sponsor at the time. Here is a picture of me wearing pretty much that kit. Try not to laugh. Thank you. And you're probably thinking, good grief, that looks like Ray Reardon, former world professional snooker champion. Well, it is. How surreal and bizarre, you're probably thinking. Well, yeah, next question is, how did I end up standing next to Ray Reardon wearing 2/3 of a Liverpool football kit? Well, such was my mum and dad's fondness for doing so at the time, back in the early 80s. They used to like taking me and my sister and other aunts and uncles, or even aunts and uncles that would have been interested at the time, going along for an annual holiday to, say, a Pontins holiday camp or a Haven holiday camp, or I don't think we ever went to Butlins, but there were a few, you know, the generic kind of holiday camp experience. Okay, that essentially was my summer holiday that I used to have, if not every year, then every other year. And the picture that you see is me at some Pontins holiday camp. I'm not quite sure which one. It might have been Great Yarmouth or somewhere like that. And the thing is, if you've never been to one of those places before, what you should know is that what they organise from time to time is for some celebrity or other to come along while you're there, during your week's stay at the holiday camp. And if it's a comedian or a singer, then they'll do a cabaret one night, so like, you know, big star you get to see in person. Or they will try and get sportsmen and women like Ray Reardon to come along and do some kind of exhibition thing for an hour, you know, and gives you a chance to meet the person, you can get their autograph. In the case of Ray Reardon, basically he was there and he did an exhibition of, you know, snooker tricks and all the usual sort of stuff. And then afterwards, kids like me had a chance to stand next to him and have their photo taken. And there I am, looking like a proper, well, I won't say what, but I look a proper fool. But it's proof that I had 2/3 of a Liverpool kit back then. That's me wearing it. Next up, we fast forward to 1988. And back then, I was the proud owner of a Rangers home shirt. Now, if you've been following the recent 50 Greatest Football Shirts Ever series on the Football Attic website, you'll know what this is all about. It was one of the shirts that was featured. I think it came in at about 33, I think, in the countdown. I might be wrong about that. But around about this time, it was in the first year or two that I'd actually, after I'd left school and I had a job, so I had a bit of money to spend, and I used to occasionally buy football shirts to wear, you know, so that I could go over to the local park and feel like I was in some ways respectable and a proper footballer, even though clearly I wasn't. One of the first shirts I bought, I think, if not the first shirt I bought with my own money, was this Rangers shirt. It was worn between, have I got the dates? Yes, I have, 1987 and 1990. I think the picture that you can see now on your screen is a picture of me wearing it in 1988. This is, as you can see, is a setup shot. We're getting into cameras and things at the time as well. Me and a couple of friends of mine. It was Darren Lewis in the middle and Jamie Brownlow on the right. and we're all running towards what was, at one point in time, a pristine mitre delta football with red V's all over it, but it had long since worn off. They'd long since worn off by that stage. But on the left, you can see me wearing said Rangers top, and it was beautiful. It had a checkerboard shadow pattern on it, and it was done in the same sort of styling around the neck as the England shirt at the time as well. I loved that shirt. It was wonderful. It was brilliant. So there you go. So that's the next one. After that, I also owned the Scotland away shirt. Now, that may seem sacrilege, me being an England fan and everything, but I just thought it was a brilliant, brilliant shirt. And basically, it was the shirt worn, if I'm not mistaken, well, certainly worn during the 1990 World Cup. It was worn against Costa Rica. And it was a white shirt with two... I think it had yellow stripes and sort of two navy blue stripes sort of across the middle of the chest there. And I just thought, what a great design for a shirt, and I had to have it. And I wore it when I was playing football over at the park many times, and I just loved that shirt. And then we come to the next shirt, which is a Psv Eindhoven shirt. All very strange, you might think. You know, why go from sort of British teams of one sort or another suddenly to ending up with a Psv Eindhoven shirt? Bit random. Well, the reason for that is because with my hard-earned cash in my hand, I discovered a shop called Soccer Scene, which was in Carnaby Street in London. We discussed this as well on our Football Attic podcasts not too long ago. A brilliant cornucopia of football shirts that you could get, and they seemingly belong to every team you can ever think of from all four corners of the world. And you would just wander in and just see all these mountains of shirts hanging up on hangers and rails and on shelves and all sorts, and you just take your pick. And I used to love buying shirts that belonged to teams that were a bit sort of left field, you know, not your kind of conventional, you know, Liverpool, Man U, Tottenham kind of thing. I used to like buying shirts for teams that maybe people wouldn't expect. And so on this occasion, I got a Psv Eindhoven shirt, and this was 1992, and you can see me wearing it in this restaged shot, a bit similar to the one we saw earlier on, me wearing the Rangers shirt. On this occasion, there was four of us running towards the camera. Basically me, Darren Lewis again, Jamie Brownlow again, and I think also Martin Lewis, good friend Martin Lewis, running towards camera in there. Now it's a bit distant, you can only just about make out me wearing it, but it's definitely the Psv Eindhoven shirt that you can see here. And that was a lovely shirt as well, a Nike shirt, and lovely silky fabric, quite sort of baggy, but quite nice for all that. The next shirt that I had was a bit of a mystery, because I distinctly remember owning an FC Porto shirt. Again, a bit random, but following on the same logic as the last one. But the problem is I've been unable to find out which one it is. I'm absolutely certain it was another Nike shirt, but I've looked through the sort of history and the sequence of all the FC Porto shirts that were worn, and I can't actually nail down exactly what year that FC Porto shirt would have been worn. So I can't actually show you which one it was because I'm not sure. But anyway, I had an FC Porto shirt, just so you know. After that, 1993, I had the West Ham home shirt of the time. This was the first West Ham shirt I think I have ever actually bought with my own money. And it's the well-known pony shirt with the big chevron, the actual pony V from their logo. I was on holiday in Hastings with the aforementioned Martin Lewis when I saw this, and it was sort of during the summer, sort of the close season, just before the 93-94 season began. And as soon as I saw it hanging up in a sports shop in Hastings, I bought it there and then on the spot. I loved it. It was a great shirt, that one. So not to everyone's taste, of course, but you know, it was one of my favourites at least. I seem to remember the fabric wasn't the best quality. Pony, maybe, I don't know, who knows. But anyway, that was that one. Now there's also another shirt that I must mention, and I'm a bit stumped by this as well. It's basically a Flamengo shirt. Okay, now I didn't add it to my notes. If you can see me glancing down, I'm just referring to my notes. I actually did manage to find photographic evidence of the Flamengo shirt that I used to own. It was an Umbro shirt. This was back when sort of Umbro were very much getting into South America. As you'll remember, they made the Brazil kit in the 1994 World Cup. Again, on a visit to Soccer Scene in London, I saw this shirt. Now it had red and black horizontal bands, hoops, which of course is traditional for Flamengo. And it was just another one of those ones where you see it and you think, I've got to have that. Because, you know, I'd owned a blue Rangers shirt, claret and blue for West Ham. I don't know, and red and black just in hoops just seemed to be a very distinctive look, which to my knowledge no one in English football at least wore. So, and of course it was a Brazilian club, so I could wear it over at the local park and people would go, who the hell's that? What team's that supposed to be? And I loved that element of kind of catching people out of it and thinking, not sort of shirt you would expect to see around these parts very often. So I've not written down when the shirt was worn. Hopefully I'll put up a caption now so you can actually see when it was worn. But here is the Flamengo team wearing that shirt. I actually owned that shirt. And the fabric for that one, I recall that it wasn't a very silky shirt. It felt almost like plasticky, really. Strange kind of texture to that shirt, but I still liked it. Unfortunately, I outgrew it very quickly. I started probably putting on a bit too much weight, and it was very close fitting. It wasn't very giving, shall we say. Didn't have a lot of room to manoeuvre in it, but it was still a lovely, beautifully styled shirt. Lots of Umbro trim around the cuffs and everything. Very nice shirt. So there's that one. Having dealt with that, we now enter the home run, and we're now on to a sequence of West Ham shirts. So again, as I said before, if you don't like West Ham, you might want to switch off now. But essentially, if we fast forward to about 2001, around about that time where I was working back then, some colleagues of mine decided that it would be a good idea once a week to go and play five-a-side football in our lunch hour at a nearby sports centre. They had AstroTurf pitches and all of that kind of stuff. So they sort of said, how would you like to come along and play five-a-side football? Great. I did, and did so for many years and enjoyed it. But it was the same principle with that as when I used to play football over at the park with my friend Martin Lewis and Darren Lewis and Jamie Brownlow and all those people you've heard of already. In that, I used to like wearing a proper football shirt. It just makes you feel special, doesn't it? Instead of just wearing some crappy old t-shirt or whatever, get a replica shirt and you feel the part. And so it was that in 2001-ish, I got my next West Ham shirt. I have it here. I have all the rest of them here. It's this one. These are all probably quite familiar to you because they were worn sort of 15 years ago or less. And as you can see, this one is a Fila top. Dr. Martin's a sponsor. And this is what I call the Paolo Di Canio shirt because he was playing for West Ham at the time. Very nice kind of modern retro sort of style that Fila were going for then. It was like an old style kind of late 60s shirt, but with obviously a bit of extra detailing around the neckline there. And I find with Fila that their football kits are either really good or really not good. Excuse me. And this one was a really good one. It just had all the old traditional sort of styling, the sort of subdued, understated styling, but also with one or two little flashes here and there just to remind you it was a modern shirt. So that one, don't know if you can see that one, but there it is. That's my first shirt. So that was the West Ham home shirt for 2001 to 2003. After that, I got the away shirt that was worn at the same time, 2001 to 2003, which is this one here. And I have to say, around this time, in the early 2000s, West Ham, I don't know if you can see it, West Ham had some lovely away kits done by a variety of different manufacturers and such like. Again, as I say, Fila, and this is in the classic style of the sort of 60s and 70s, the all pale blue away kit with two horizontal claret hoops across the middle. Very nicely done, this one. Not much more to add to it than that, other than you got your Dr. Martin's sponsor again, and a nice stitched on badge. Proper stuff, that. So that was a lovely one. I used to love wearing that playing football. So that's that. And then the next home shirt that came out for West Ham, I bought that as well, and it's this one here. This is where we go on to Reebok, and this had the sort of distinction. It had a sort of the long sleeve version of this was a bit odd because it had, you can see here, I hope, where the kind of blue sort of slopes away across the sleeve. Well, on the long sleeve version, it sort of cut across the arm and the rest of the arm was claret, so it looked a bit strange long sleeve. But the short sleeve one that I have here, which hopefully you're seeing, was another quite nice shirt. Fairly understated sort of styling. I wouldn't say West Ham's best shirt ever, but quite a nice one for all that. A nice kind of ribbed sort of stitching around the collar here. Again, stitched on badge. And JobServe, now the quality sponsor for West Ham. as you can see, and that was the shirt worn between 2003 and 2005. So there we go. So that was that one. After that, I had the away shirt, kind of worn around the same time, 2004 to 2006, and this I think is probably the favourite of all my West Ham shirts that I still own. Here it is. Here we are, Reebok again, of course. And sorry, I'm trying to hold these things up properly. You can see I don't do this very often, can't you? Now, what I love about this is the sort of stripes going across the middle here. And you've also got a sort of underarm claret sort of panel. And I just think that's beautiful. It's a lovely, lovely design. It's really good. And one of Reebok's best. Again, another manufacturer. They didn't always hit the bullseye when it comes to design, but that's a nice one. That's a very nice one indeed. I used to like wearing that. And then we come to my last shirt, and this I think was probably the last shirt of West Ham's that I've bought up to this date actually, and it's the away shirt that came in after that one. The one that I just showed you, the light blue one, was worn from 2004 to 2006. Well, from 2005 to 2006, West Ham had this away shirt, another Reebok one. Here we are, and again a nice one. I think this was the one. Was this the one that West Ham wore in the FA Cup final 2006? I think it might have been. I'm not sure. I should have checked that before I come on. Anyway, nicely done. I can't say I've always been a fan of West Ham having dark blue on their away kits in any form really. I do prefer the pale blue or white or both. But this was quite nice because it had little flashes of claret in there as well. I'm holding this up from different sort of angles, just hopefully we can see. Unfortunately, it's a sticker job, the old badge on there. But like I say, the white with just little sort of small areas of navy blue and claret. It's just really nicely executed. Bit of a mesh kind of thing going on here under the arms. Bit of air to get in under your arms as you're playing football. And this is the only shirt that I've ever had my name printed on the back of. I think I did it because I just thought, well, you know, why not? I think it was my birthday when I bought this, and I thought, why not treat myself? I'll get my name put on the back. So here we go. So here it is. Yes, I know. So there we are, Oakley 34, and that was my birthday at the time. I was 34 then. Dear me, 10 years ago. And yes, I'm not sure that it adds much to your playing experience having your name and a number on the back, but it sort of made it personal to me. So yeah, there it is. So those are all the shirts pretty much that I've ever owned. I'm not sure that you found any of that interesting, but hopefully you did. And it's if nothing else, it's a counterpoint to Rich Johnson going on and on and on about his football shirts that he owns and he collects. He does go on a bit, but anyway, there it is. So, hope you enjoyed that. That's it. That's the last Football Attic video blog, and all I can say is I hope you enjoy them, and thank you to all of you that have sent in feedback down the last 4 years or so, getting on for 4 years. You know, your support has been most encouraging, so thank you for that. But for now, for the time being, from me, Chris Oakley, it's goodbye.